Hey YouTube, we are looking at how we're looking at Registeel, and Registeel is one of the most sort of fascinating cases in GBL. It has been around basically since the early seasons, season 1, season 2. You had it with Flash Cannon. I'm going to show you how strong it was back in the day. It got Zap Cannon, and that made it like overpowered. It was on every single team, just lowering opponent's attack 100% of the time, and it just you had to build a team with two answers to Registeel, and then Zap Cannon got nerfed a little bit, and despite it being number one ranked, it's nowhere to be found in GBL right now. So it's a really interesting case. So we're gonna go over some of that history and how we got here. So Registeel has a lot of strengths to it. Again, the very, very, very obvious is its stat product, very low attack, 95, very, very high defense, 189, and decent stamina, 130, 2300 overall, right? So you get a sort of legendary Pokemon that gets that sort of like legendary bump of stat product in the Great League, because it's why Registeel is such a great legendary Pokemon in the Great League is because it is one of the two legendary Pokemon with Cresselia that is defensive heavy, as opposed to every other one which is attack heavy, which kind of makes it useless in the Great League. So you have that sort of like defensive heavy legendary stat product helping you out a ton. So great stat product combined with the fastest energy generating move there is, a 1 turn fast move that gives you 5 energy per turn. So you're getting 10 energy per once 2 turns, which is insane. So when you had Flash Cannon, which was 70, and Focus Blast, which is 75, these are the two moves that you used. 150 damage, still 2 damage per energy, and 132 damage, 1.89. You, at times in the early range, you were either potentially one-shotting stuff, like if it was weak to fighting, you could one-shot stuff, or it was just an easy 2. And because you were so fast with the lock-on charging, you would get to those 2 pretty fast. So in the early seasons of GBL, let's look at this typing first. Just pure steel. So only 3 weaknesses: ground, fire, and fighting. And in the early seasons of GBL, there was like none of this. And you can see that in this matrix here. So here's the early list of Pokemon. And here is just the domination: 8, 4, and 1, 500 average. A couple hard losses like Machamp was around, and Swampert is always such a hard answer. But otherwise, right, a lot of stuff that you could hit that you would either resist, like Skarmory across the board back in the day, Hypno's Confusion. You have Umbreon, you can hit super effective with the Focus Blast. You resist the grass, right? And that comes back to all your resistances. Just a pure steel. Double resist poison, and then single resist steel, rock, psychic, normal, ice, grass, flying, fairy, dragon, and bug, which was a lot of the meta back in the day, right? You had Altaria and Skarmory and Hypno and Venusaur and Shiftry, right? So you resisted just a ton of stuff. So just charging so fast and resisting a bunch of stuff and very, very few weaknesses in the meta, you were everywhere. It kind of fell away a bit. And it fell away a bit because Galarian Stunfisk rose up. And I think why Galarian Stunfisk rose up a bit at the time, it's like your stat product is comparable. Slightly higher attack, way lower defense, but way higher stamina for 2200 all. But you got this, like the moves on Registeel are, what I say, 70 and 75. So they're high energy moves. They hit hard, but they're high energy moves. So now you had a Pokemon with similar typing, similar stat product, with an Earthquake, quicker energy that does basically the same damage, 132, and then you have a very, very quick Rock Slide that gave you the coverage. So everyone started using Stunfisk. And then Registeel got Zap Cannon and broke the game. because you had a same thing, 80 energy move for a ton of damage, 150. So very, very comparable to Flash Cannon and Focus Blast, but it lowered your opponent's attack 100% of the time at the time. And like we've seen with Breaking Swipe, and like we've seen with Zap Cannon, and like we see with other stuff, that is such a hard hitting move, or not. It was a move that lowers your attack 100% of the time that you can either get to a lot. That you can get to a lot, because Breaking Swipe, you get to a lot because it's a quick move, and Zap Cannon you get to a lot because you have lock on and you charge so fast. So when you lower your opponent's attack with a nuke, it's like a double combo there, because you're still doing so much damage, 150 damage, right? While lowering your opponent's attack, it really puts your opponent at disadvantage. So every single team either had Registeel or you had two counters to Registeel. It was always like Swampert, a lot of like, and then that's when Stunfisk showed up. That's when Diggersby kind of made its push. So you had the Zap Cannon everywhere. Everyone's like, Registeel needs a nerf, Registeel needs a nerf, Registeel needs a nerf. And everyone kind of thought they would go after Lock On because it's the one that only affects the Reggies. But they went after Zap Cannon and just lowered the chance to 66%. And I and everyone else thought at the time, like, what's that going to do? Like, yes, it changes the game, but like, that's still like, I thought it'd be like 50% chance of lowering the attack, but it's 67. That's still pretty high. And it is still ranked number 1. I don't think I've seen a Registeel on any team in GBL this season, despite its number 1 ranking. And if you look at the Open Great League, it does have a 24-16 record. Let's just go straight to the wins first, because there are some nice wins. Like, there are Skarmories everywhere. You would kill that. Azumarill, Altaria, those are making comebacks. Those are there. Mandibuzz, Dragons, stuff like that. Like, a lot of good wins. However, the current state of the meta is very, very, very tricky to run Registeel. And again, I don't mind losses if you're Registeel. Like this Gligar at 338, it sucks, you're going to lose, but they're going to land digs and you're going to lose. Where the problem is these hard losses. And the problem is Whiscash, Swampert, Talonflame is debatable, but Medi, Poliwrath, Annihilate are everywhere. And when you're losing at a rate of 109 and below, this just means that your opponent is going to come out with almost full health, 107, right? Or they can like come out with a bunch of energy. And so it's in this meta, despite being number 1, and that's the thing with PV Poke, and I had this question. It's like, why is Registeel number 1 but nowhere to be found? And because on PV Poke, it does the sims against the entire Great League, right? So this sim itself is against 41 Pokemon of the main meta, but the sim will do against like everything. And against everything, it does amazing. I wonder if I can do... No, this is just... all Pokemon. Here you go. If you go all Pokemon, it's going to have an incredible record, right? 722, 232, and 4, which is why they don't do it against that. They do it against, you can filter against the meta, which is 24 and 16. And again, if you look at 24 and 16, that's great. That's great. 24 and 16, yeah, great. Great win-loss record. Almost, yeah, it is 2-1 win-loss record. What's bad about that? What's bad about that is you have a 2-1 win-to-loss record, and your average is below 500, and not just below 500, it's like 14 points below 500, which means you're getting killed in some of these matchups. And there's the meta, and why I've said multiple times in the past week, this meta is the most wide open it's been in a while. Altaria's back, Azumarill's back, Skarmory's back, like way more options that you can use. But the meta is also the smallest that it's been in a while, because the meta is 7 Pokemon, and 4 of those Pokemon are in your hardest losses. So when the meta is 80% Whiscash, Quagsire, Annihilate, Lantern, Skarmory, and then you can argue you can argue Medi, you can argue Gligar, and then Lickitung, which is like way closer than you think it would be with a Steel when they have no charge moves. You do win, but like barely. It's tough to use the number 1 ranked Pokemon when 5 of the 7 meta Pokemon are gonna destroy you. And that's the problem with Registeel. I also do not like using Registeel because Registeel kind of goes against my general philosophy of Pokemon that I like using. So when you look at its traits, it's very bulky, it's flexible, it can get shield pressure, it's very defensive. But the 2 here is low fast move pressure. There's no fast move pressure, it's just a fast charging move. And learning curve, I wouldn't worry too much about that. But the problem with what I don't like about Registeel is Registeel is, I don't want to say boring, but when you're that reliant, because here's the thing, Mudshot is similar-ish, where it's just a fast energy generating move to get to those like Hydro Cannons on Swamperts or Mud Bombs and Scalds on Whiscash. So it's not like I'm totally against using Pokemon that are just very fast charging and then just throwing sort of like hard hitting moves. But Registeel takes it to a different level because Swampert is sort of what I feel like is dynamic enough because it only takes 5 Mudshots to get to a Hydro. And same thing with like Mud Bomb and Scald. It doesn't actually take a ton to get there. Whereas Reggie, you only have the nukes. So, and the problem with these nukes is, and the thing with like Swampert versus Registeel, in my opinion, is a lot of the times you can still do like from a Shadow two Shadow Hydro Cannons to take out a lot of Pokemon. And the problem with Registeel is, even though it has nukes, Zap Cannon, Focus Blast, unless you're hitting super effective on stuff, even sometimes super effective does not take it out, you still need 2 nukes. So you're playing like a boring game that relies on landing nukes that you still need to land multiple nukes. Whereas opposed to like Swampert, it's like, yes, it still takes 2 to 2. Like it takes 2 Focus Blasts to take out Lickitung. It takes 2 between Mudshots and Shadow Hydro Cannons, 2 Hydro Cannons to take out Lickitung. So I can take out Lickitung with 2 Shadow Hydro Cannons or 2 Focus Blasts. So it takes way longer to get to the Focus Blast. It takes, it just kind of makes the game boring. And if you get into a bad matchup, the thing with Swampert is like, if you get in a bad matchup with Swampert, even against Grass, like a Shadow Hydro Cannon against Trevenant still does 2 will take out Trevenant. As opposed to this, like a lot of the time 2 moves probably won't even take out, and because it takes so long to get to these moves, yes, Lock-On is a very fast charging move, but because it takes so long to get to the moves, it just puts you at a really big disadvantage. So I don't like using Registeel. I never have. Even if you go back and watch the history of the channel when Registeel was on, you'll see like I almost rarely ever used it, and I always used counters to Registeel because I would much rather counter it and use Pokemon like Swampert than use Registeel. So it's rank 1. I think it has more play. I think it's more deserving of the rank 1 because it's rank 1 in Great League and Ultra League. I think it's more deserving of the Ultra League ranking because I remember, because I think your hard losses here are not as bad. And this is exactly why I think there's a huge difference. And look at this difference between, where are the graphs here? Look at the difference between this graph and these losses here in the 80 to 100 range, where it's just like your opponent's coming out loaded with energy and health, versus the Ultra League where it's like you're still going to lose those ones, but you're losing them at a way, way, way more respectable pace. And I've played this in the Poliwrath matchup, that if you use Registeel as a safe swap, you probably still get a multiple off here. Yeah, even if you don't use Regi as a safe swap and take multiple Scalds, you'll shield one Scald, live one Scald, and still get a second Zap Cannon off to chip it a ton, right? So it's not like in Great League where your opponent can just like out counter you and out spam you to take you out quicker, and they're left with like 120 energy out of the 170. You're so bulky in this league that your ability to get multiple moves off, even in bad matchups, is way, way higher. And that's why you have a 29-10 with a 583 average, as opposed to your still great win percentage, but a 486. So there's a huge, huge, huge difference between the practicality of Registeel in the Great League versus the Ultra League. So Ultra League, if you watch this channel for a while, I'm probably on like month 5 of walking my Registeel to get XL candies, because I do think that in the Ultra League, it has a ton of play as a safe swap. Again, you will lose against this stuff, but if you safe swap, you're still going to chip the crap out of these things. Or as opposed to Great League, if you come in as a safe swap and you get hit with like a whiz cash, like you're done. You're done. This thing is going to come out loaded with energy and loaded with health, and it really makes it difficult to come back from. So that's why I think Registeel, although ranked number 1 in Great League, is way, way overranked for what the actual meta you are seeing in that league. Or as opposed to Registeel in the Ultra League, I think is worth that ranking. So if you're going to team build with it, again, Great League versus Ultra League is different. In Ultra League, I could use this as a safe swap and then just build around it. Build like 2 balanced Pokemon around it, Registeel safe swap. In Great League, if I'm using Registeel, I need to watch out for like Whiscash, which is why your top suggested teammates are Pelipper, Mantine, Cresselia, Azumarill, Mandibuzz, because these are all stuff that will very, very easily beat Whiscash. This is all stuff that will beat fighters, right? You got a couple flyers here. You got 3 flyers, a psychic, and a fairy to beat the fighter. So you're basically covering your fire and fighting weakness with Pelipper, Mantine, and Azumarill, and then your ground weakness with Cresselia because of the Grass Knot, and the Mandibuzz as the flyer. So it's a very easy team build. You just need to watch out for the Pokemon that are going to destroy you there, and then you can balance it out with like a safe swap or like a third. And that's how you team build with Registeel in the Great League, as opposed to, as I said, in the Ultra League. They'll probably give you similar recommendations, because you still got to watch out for fighters and stuff, right? So you got to watch out for fires, so they're giving you a couple water Pokemon. They got to watch out for the fighting, so you could get like Giratina and flyers and Gliscor to deal with the ground and stuff. So it's the same concept, because the suggested teammates will always give you a teammate to try and balance out this the matrix, right? So when you rate the team, the suggested teammate will always try to fill these gaps here of like, oh, you're gonna lose to Poliwrath, here's an answer to Poliwrath. You're gonna lose to Referral Cobalion, here's an answer to Referral Cobalion. And that's how they do it down the board. But because Registeel, as you can see, is so safe, and Giratina is also super safe, you're able to provide more flexibility in your team building in the Ultra League as compared to the Great League. So that is Registeel. That's why you're not seeing it in the Great League right now. So that is basically it. That's the history of it. That's it. I probably put out a Master League team this morning. Again, I'm filming a lot of these Great League and this in advance, so I don't actually know how Master League is going yet. But you'll definitely have a few Master League teams, and then we'll figure out whether I want to do Master League and or go back to Great League. Anyway, that is it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.